How are you doing today? Welcome back to my Bankroll challenge. My name is Andreas and I turned $24 into $1,000 in less than 30 days playing cash games on PokerStars, mostly PLO. Today I'm going to review what happened on day number 22. Let's get into the hands. Here you can see a overall graph from the first part of the session. I played 4,200 hands roughly, and you can see it went quite poorly. Let's have a look at what happened during the hands here. This is Hold'em and Edge, right? You can see my HUD stats, and I go over those basically in some other videos, but most of the stats that I use are quite intuitive. Here I got Ace, 7, 6, 4 double suited, raise from under the gun, get 3-bet by this player here who has been 3-betting quite a bit. Check call, the second nuts here on the flop, could as well lead. Check, but we're very deep here, by the way. Then on the turn, I decided to check raise all in. Here, I got the nut clubs as well as a redraw, so I'm not completely dead against 7-9 in case he has that sometimes. And I could also certainly check call if I want to, have some strong check calls, and on clubs, I can still decide whether I want to lead or then still be checking and trying to let him bluff. But I decided to check rip it on a turn and he folded. And I think there are merits for both plays depending on how your opponents react here. The next hand is going to be Ace King A5 double suited, where I get 3-bet by this guy here, Red Poker Man. He has been 3-betting quite a bit, but the sample is really small. And I decided to just call the 3-bet, go 3-way to the flop with 2 opponents, flop trips, and I decided to check raise all in here. And I run into Ace Jack Jack 3, which I have 67% of equity against, and win the pot. Next hand here is Ace King 7-5, where someone defends a very loose hand here from the small blind. He actually plays every single hand. I decide to bet, get check raise, and now the question is, do I want to just call or 3-bet? I went for the 3-bet, and you can already see the disaster coming. He has the 6s, which I'm super mad about, especially because we're 140 big ones deep. Usually I wouldn't do this here, but against this guy I don't see any other solution to the hand than trying to be greedy and stack any other 5. We're also doing quite well against most random 5s that he could have here, and of course he can still have some auto straight draws and could be ahead, and of course against the 6s we're drawing close to that. So in the end he wins a super huge pot here. As I said, if you were a different player I wouldn't really go for that route or with that line. Here I have middle set and a flush draw and a straight draw. I decide to go for the flop 3-bet versus this guy's check raise. He's super tight, so he's going to have a strong check raise range here for sure. Something like top 2 and some additional draw, or some very good combo draw, even though I block a lot of those. And then of course top set here as well, which he does have 38% against that. Also obviously not happy about the result, but the result is we win the pot, but not much going for me here when it comes to how the money went in. Here I think it's a little bit unnecessary, button versus big blind without hearts to barrel this hand, and then on the river decide to value bet somewhat thinly, and then I get check jam. And now this guy usually has a nut flush or the nut flush blocker. He shouldn't really do that with the second nut flush, because I'm gonna have a ton of nut flushes betting here myself. I discounted the second nut flush, which was a mistake. I should have seen it coming that some people are gonna also do that, and then they're gonna have too many flushes that are higher than mine compared to the Ace of Diamonds blocker, Ace of Spades blocker here. What really speaks for a call here is that the board texture is in a way that if he had a nut flush draw and something else going with it, which is not really all that hard, you would have the nut flush draw plus a gut shot here the majority of the time, given his pre-flop call. And with that hand, a lot of people check raise already on the turn here against my bet, I would say, which he didn't. And therefore I was going to discount some of the nut flushes that he might have on the river. Also, he checked on the river again to me, which indicates that he's going to have less nut flushes, because a lot of people, they're leading on the river here. But don't really want to go over the spot like too much. I ended up calling. I was wrong. He even had this hand. And if people do that against you, you should never bet call this hand, or never bet call any flush that's lower than the second nuts, because they're basically overplaying their hand, and you know, occasionally they get you to call with the queen eye flush, which I was even almost folding that hand. So how can you even do that for value? Because I'm only frequently going to have the queen eye flush, and oftentimes I'm still going to be folding it. So here we go. Here we have kings. We are squeezing here and flop a pretty good flop. 8-5 deuce rainbow. We have the top set block or top pair, an overpair, and a backdoor flush draw, and back to straight draw. No, not really. But blocking a lot of hands, I go with my hand, and unfortunately this guy is a set. Can't do really much here. Let's move on to the next hand. Here I got kings flat on the button, flop a set 4-way. Guy bets, I call. I want to keep his range wide basically here, and he fires a turn, and I go with my hand. Unfortunately, he has top set, and I'm dead. Obviously, if he has top 2, I'm super way ahead, and if he has a top set or middle set, then I'm dead. So against middle set, of course, I've still 3 outs. Yeah, bad outcome. I don't think against those guys you can do that much when that spot happens. As long as you don't just get it in on the flop and basically fold out all the top 2 pair, the 2 pairs that are out there, you're gonna be fine though. Here, bet call the flop with a top pair, top kicker, nut flush draw, backdoor straight draw hand, and call the turn. And then also have to call the river for $4 here. Often going to be chopping, and then sometimes going to look at the king jack. Unfortunately, as a king jack, not a great start. Ace queen queen 3 here, pretty nice hand. Check back on the river, raise him, and he clicks it, which is really awkward. Like, why would he ever do that with quads if he can just get all the money? I was very hesitant to shove here. I was between calling and shoving, ended up shoving the overboard of queens here. Also partially because he has only $7, which is 70 big blinds at this game. And, you know, it's going to be less damage if he actually does have me beat occasionally here with the quads. And he does have the quads. Happened to me like 3 times during the session, so not the best start, so to speak. Here, 3-bet standard, ace queen a5 double suited against a very loose button. C-bet the flop, check call the turn with a gut shot and a second pair top kicker. It's going to be marginal, but he also bet a third, which I definitely do have to defend against. Unfortunately, when you look at my equity here, river the wrong card, which is the queen, which makes him a boat, and I check call with the trips, and he has me beat. So as you can see, tons of hands where I just was in there with the second best hand. This is not another one. Queens and 4s double suited, 3-bet against a very loose range. Fairly standard, especially when they're not folding. You want to extend your 3-betting range having these hands. They're also not that strong, by the way. Like, you shouldn't 3-bet like a 12% range with these types of holdings, but against a loose player, adding these hands is quite nice. I get flushed over flushed here with second nuts. No way for 2 bets I can fold here on a 3-bet pot. Huge cooler. Next hand. Ace queen 10-8 double suited. Top 2. Again, SPR 2-point pot here, and he has middle set. And last but not least, I think this hand. Yeah, this hand made me really mad because this guy fires with like top pair and a gutter twice. Now he picked up 2 pair actually. And this guy, who is also playing these stakes regularly and running pretty pure, he floats with the king 10, 10, 9, him only having 260 behind. I have to fold the best hand here with top 2, no way I can continue. And then he tries to bluff him on the river, and it obviously doesn't work. And easy money for this guy, I would say. And that's it for the first part of the session. But, it wasn't over. It did continue like this, but let's have a look at how the second part of the session is. And you can see it's quite crazy. We had another 4,000 hands here, losing all day long until the last 1,500 hands where we just won 15 binds. So I was waiting basically all day to run good. And I don't think I changed from my game during the entire 12-hour session that much at all. Like, if so, then my game gets weaker towards the end of a session because of being tired. But well, very speculative open here with 10-8, 5 2 double suited. But the Rainbow Master in the big blind goes for the 3-bet with a 7-6-5 for Rainbow. I make a better hand and he just check ships it dead. Must be nice for me. So this is one of the run good hands. King, Jack 10 here under the gun in a 3-bet pot. Or actually we do 4-bet because this guy has been short stacking and also he's been 3-betting way too much and this guy cold calls and we have most likely the best hand here. So kings go in on the flop, unfortunately, when this guy already had quite a decent hand with his top 2 pair, but you can see how bad his hand was pre-flop, 9, 8, 6, 5, spade, spade, spade. So pretty good spot for me, all in all. Queens with an 8-6, call the 3-bet here, being in position and somewhat deep, 120 big blinds, call the flop here. Don't want to really stack off on the pairing cards like a 9-7 and and then I try to shift for the turn, which is great for me. Get lucky here with the 5, binking the straight already, and then winning a huge pot against aces. Here I do have ace, queen, jack 10. I do 3-bet against a loose player. He calls. I do bet the flop with top pair. I check with diamonds. He raises small. I call with a backdoor flush draw as well. Check call that turn, picking up backdoor straight draws against a small bet, and then he just bets small on this ace river, which I call, and he turned some 2-pair into a bluff. He doesn't really have to. He has some short-hand bet against some of my hands, so not really good play by him. But yeah, pretty fishy player. Aces, 8 deuce, 4-bet here against queens and deuces, all standard so far he calls. And here on this board, I want to be checking with my 4-betting range because a lot of my aces, they miss. This aces doesn't miss because it has a nut flush draw with it, which I go with, and unfortunately has the better hand. And here we have over-limped ace, queen, 5 deuce. I like these hands to over-limp in these very loose games because they're gonna make some hands in a multi-way pot that are insanely strong some of the time that people don't see coming, especially on these stakes, which happens right now here. And I do raise the flop, get the best hand on a turn, or get one of my redraws, and they both have a flush, and I just call down, make a 200 big blind pot here, just investing 25 cents, not bad. 3-bet king, king, 8, 9 double suited against a cutoff. Not really sure like how loose he is in the cutoff, but in min raises certainly do want a 3-bet here. And then he calls on the flop. I do bet. I could also check here, I would say. I connect somewhat with the board of a backdoor hard draw, but I don't want to really blow to pot against some of the hands, but I like betting too. It's a little bit in between. On the turn, I bet one more time, he check calls, and on the river he makes the nuts, doesn't lead, I value bet, and he does not raise me, which is nice. Saved me $2.49 here. Thank you, man. The total 6K. Thanks for the $2.49 there. Doesn't raise the nuts on the river. That was some of the run good, right? So ace, king, 9-5 double suited, squeezing here against 2 players. On the flop, I ended up checking. On the turn, I make the nuts and bet call. Could also obviously bet small here on the turn, but I wanted to go for these guys stack in case he has a bluff catcher. Wish he did not. This guy though had a 9-high flush and stacked off. And king, king, 10-6. I 3-bet and get the money in on the flop against the hand that is crushed. Flop also super decent with a gut shot and overpair and flush draw. Goes well trap. But on these boards I will be potting quite a bit. Here I defend 10-6-6-7 double suited, check call the flop, check call the turn, and then on the river I have a decision to make, and I ended up calling against this guy. Played like all 4 hands at the beginning, and I thought that yeah, here still gonna be a set is still gonna be good quite a bit against some blocker bluffs, against some stupid ace king that gets overplayed occasionally, and then here he just had a king 3-4 bluff, which whatever. Against some people I might even consider folding some of the time if they always have it. 10-9 here, single suited against a limp raise or something. Make the nuts on a turn, he shoves it into me here, and we win a pretty nice pot of 100 bigs. Ace, king, king, 8, 3-bet versus ace 3 deuces double suited. He raise calls, and then he check floats, check calls, because he picks up quite some outs, and then on the river he makes a set and cannot let it go for the last 376. and we stack him for 60 big blinds. Here we have ace 10, 7-6 double suited. He goes check, 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 and then he bets on the turn. And I think I have some implied odds here, otherwise I wouldn't have called with just a rep that's fairly weak. But here I do get the implied odds on this river specifically. He has also some blockers and top pair, top kicker, which I don't think he needs to block bet or do something like here. If so, he should just be checking. But yeah, he messed it up here. Bet called the river, and me winning 40 big blinds down the river, pretty nice. Here, squeezing ace 10, 8, 7 double, checking the flop, betting the turn, and then jamming the river with the nuts. And he has a king of flush cooler against him, which is awesome. And you can see how this session turned around with all these run good hands. We ended up $68 in EV or $84, but even running above EV here. And for, you know, you can just see how crazy it can sometimes be in pot limit Omaha. You're playing for 8,000 hands, which is, you know, in live poker, it would be infinity. So sometimes you just have to wait a very long time in Omaha to get your money back. And this is exactly what happened here, you know, just 1,500 hands. And it's 70 minus 40. It's crazy. It's just, how many binds is that? Like, yeah, it's like 11 binds or something. Not more than that. I thought it was even more if you count back to here. And then in the green line, it's even more. So absolutely crazy what happened. Here the overview. So for you guys, I haven't updated here on day number 22 on this graph, but you can see that I raked almost $1,000 already. I'm at 617.99, and we played another 9,600 hands. We're almost approaching the 200,000 hands. We will certainly pass that until the end of the challenge, unless we just go on a huge heater and finish early in this challenge here. We've got a couple of days left. I hope it's going to be working out. You know, it looks good so far. We're on pace again. And I hope you guys are excited for the last days. I certainly am not so excited, but I'm still gonna finish this challenge because it is quite some grind that I think might be a bit unnecessary. But I hope that you guys appreciate still the Bankroll challenge going on, and me trying to finish this, and you know, trying to follow up with my word that I said I was gonna do this. So yeah, don't forget to hit the like button down here if you enjoy this Bankroll channel, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. There's going to be more content coming up here on this channel. It's going to be a podcast. Actually, by the time you're viewing this, there's going to be more podcasts coming up here for sure. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.